Nico Bajerski of BMA MMA in Halifax. Nico, how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Great to meet you, and thank you for having me on.
No, my pleasure. It's I'm sure, as you know, you mentioned you've done a few podcasts, and so there's always a bit of nerves, and it can be hit or miss with how good the conversation flows. So getting along quite well so far. And I'm really interested to hear your backstory of how you started coaching and how that led into you opening an academy, and then we'll get into like some business stuff later.
Oh, that's brilliant. No problem whatsoever. Um, Shortly after leaving school, I wanted to be in the fitness, the martial arts world.
Mhm.
So I found a job which was a karate membership sales job, door-to-door sales in Bradford, and they was to train you up to black belt, give you sales, psychology, communication lessons, and eventually you would have your own karate school. Shortly after joining, I realised it was a bit of a pyramid scale scheme. So anyway, I joined up, and I did. Unbeknownst to me at the time, it was a best year of my career. I learned the most in that year, specifically communications.
Mm.
We would do karate training 3 times a week, sales and communications training 5 times a week with my psychology teacher and karate teacher. He taught us everything. He could
Mhm.
sell sand to an Arab, and I mean, he could sell sand to an Arab. I've seen it. And then in the night time, we would go and do door-to-door karate membership sales in Bradford. And many occasions, I would find myself from in a street from one house to the other with no money in my pocket, no charge on my phone, not enough petrol to get home. If I didn't make that next sale in the next house, I would not have the petrol money to get home. And the sale being a piece of cardboard, which was a membership slip. While I was doing that, I was training to be a personal trainer. After a year, I left that job and I found a job as a personal trainer. A little bit more hardship. I actually had to pay the gym. So I said at the time I was training in traditional jiu-jitsu and Thai boxing. I asked them if I could teach an MMA class, to which they agreed. From there, I realised that I could find a local lockup unit, which would be a little bit cheaper. So I then found a local lockup unit, and I had a piece of carpet from my mum's shed, 4 punch bags, 2 students, and £20. I managed to get the money together to get to the local lockup unit, and I went along, and nobody turned up. So I realised I needed a few things to keep the academy going. I obviously needed to get better at martial arts fast, students, and money. So I don't do things by halves. What I did from there is I went on to do multiple jobs as a factory sweatshop. They ring you within half an hour, and I'd go and do the job. Often I would turn up when there'd be lots of Polish people. I realised I got the job because of my surname, and they can work really hard.
Hmm.
One of the jobs landed, and I ended up working full time in a factory in the daytime. And then I joined a gym called Air Valley Martial Arts in Keighley in about 2013 as a white belt. Realised my traditional jiu-jitsu was not holding any weight. So then I had a job, gym, and training. This went on for a couple of years. I eventually got my blue belt, was competing. The academy was slowly taking off, not much. 2014, I got my blue belt, was competing, but I left the job because I was burning the candle from both ends and soon realised I needed another job. To which I then got another job in the morning, working 5 a.m. till 2 in the afternoon in a Morrison's factory picker. Then as a personal trainer, this time being paid part-time from 3 till 9:30 in the evening, 3 times a week. Between that shift, I nearly fell asleep and crashed on the motorway working 17-hour days to get the gym going. After a couple of months, I eventually left the factory job again. Then I kept the fitness job. Around this time in my career, in about 2016-17, I was headhunted by another Gym Fusion Kickboxing to be head MMA coach. I was a purple belt in 2017. I was now the head MMA coach of my gym at the time, which was called Citus MMA, which meant rapid in Latin, Fusion Kickboxing, and also Streamline Fitness. So I've gone from karate door-to-door membership sales, factory jobs, now been the head MMA coach of 3 gyms simultaneously. Moving on from there, 2018, I left everything, went fully self-employed as a gym owner. difficult times, but I scraped through. Kept on working up through my belts. 2019, I got my brown belt, competed in K1. My gym was starting to get busier. We moved into a bigger gym. We got the cage. It's all going well. And from there, we kept going. And the year that defined my career thus far was the year of 2022. That's when it all started to come together. Since then, we've been flying. But that's a brief backstory of getting the academy going and the hardship. A lot of people see my academy now as super successful and busy. Don't realize that I broke myself, and I learned a lot. But I broke myself through door-to-door sales, jobs, personal training, etc., to get that academy going.
I mean, I can relate to a lot of those things. The first thing that pops out to me, I mean, I want to go back to the door-to-door karate sales because I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But you may have heard this before, but there are three types of people. There are people who watch it happen. There are people who make it happen, and there are people who wonder what the fuck just happened. And you're definitely somebody who makes it happen. It's like I had a very similar story where I was working like the produce thing at Costco, working 5 a.m. to noon, breaking my back. Those boxes of bananas are heavy, man. And then I'm coaching the evening classes, in the gym as like a CrossFit head coach and grinded out for years.
Yeah.
I worked in some factories as well. So like I can really relate to how hard that is on your body, on your energy. Like that's why we have our 20s, I guess. To be able to get through those.
That. Yes.
Yeah. But kudos to you for sticking through that, because a lot of people would just kind of give up on that dream.
Yeah.
What is it that gave you the push to succeed and get through all that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm still very much like this now. I'm very, very disciplined. Prior to the door-to-door sales, I was a competitive runner. I'd run for Yorkshire and Humberside, cross country. I was self-martial. I taught myself on the punch bag every night. And I feel like my relentless mindset came from running in the hills and a lot of running, and just I like hard work, to be honest with you. I like hard work. And to be fair, my coach at the time, my communications coach at the time, was extremely positive. So everything we actually learned at the time, the homework was all about positive thinking. How you actually talk influences how you think. For instance, we always say I have to do this, but what we should be saying is I get to do this. And just the power of positive thinking. And then obviously from there, becoming a PT, I was interested in that. And then I wanted to open my own gym. And then I always saw potential, but I suppose that if I were to think, if I don't sell this piece of, literally, I'm trying to find an example, a piece of cardboard. Sell me this to somebody's house for £20 with my signature onto a gym that they doesn't know exists for £20. They don't know you're coming to really sell it. They think you're dropping some bucks off. Sell me that for £20 to get home in the car. If I can do that, then I knew I could, build a gym. But whether there's 2 students or not, I could see the possibility. I could see the potential. And I've always really believed in myself. And that intimidates people, and intimidates people to this day. That, people get intimidated by other people that truly believe in themselves. But I do. I believe in myself, and I believe in everybody else. And I just kept pushing through it. And the sales and the communications and the hard work, to this day, I use. I signed a member up tonight with the same tactics and skills that I used on the doors. Exactly the same.
Silly question. Did you wear a karate gi when you went around?
No.
No. I'm just picturing you in a karate gi. That's all. Yeah, I mean, I had some similar experiences. One of my first jobs, if not my first job in the fitness industry, was a personal trainer at Gold's Gym, and so you'd get paid like a terrible hourly wage, but you were really there to work the floor and go and try and get clients.
Yeah.
And so if you, I mean, and that's something that I find just separates successful from, let's say, more like just like in jiu-jitsu, you have competitors and you have a hobbyist. On the business owner side, you have the hobbyist gym owner and you have the competitive gym owner. And so the competitive gym owner, they know how to sell. And whether there's someone like you or me who cut their teeth in some shitty job that, that was kind of,
really funny.
Yeah, or they realized that they needed to figure it out later, and they took some training somewhere.
Yeah.
They figured that out, the importance of it. So, I mean, it's kind of an obvious question, but would you attribute that early training to a lot of the success that you've seen now?
Absolutely. Listen, I deal with a lot of martial art coaches and gym owners, and they're all very good at jiu-jitsu, but I see massive flaws in their turnover rate from people that talk to them in the first place to signing them up. They have no idea about mirroring. They have no idea about rapport, communications. You're talking to them about what they want. And look, I'm not saying they don't, obviously they believe in jiu-jitsu, they know the benefits of what we do, but you need to put that across to somebody and explain to them that it's not just about strangling people, it's a way of life. And if I can get some help through doing that, through learning how to communicate and talk to people through sales, why not? So sales is life. Sales is life. Everything we do, we're always trying to sell our opinion to somebody, whether it's talking to your wife about going to the park or the pub. You're selling your opinion. So it's helped me no end. I was walking past somebody the other day, and it was called a White Road Shopping Centre. There was two young men, and they was dressed in suits, cold calling as you walk past, trying to sell some energy systems. And I stopped and I spoke to this young man and I said, I'm not here to buy anything from you, but I just want you to know that what you're doing right now, no matter how much money you're making, these are the golden years of your life that'll set you up for the rest of your life to communicate with people. So good on you, because it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing, but you're learning so much.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also learning to deal with rejection as well, because you're
Oh,
going to get a
massive.
lot of
Good,
those.
good point you've made there. So true. So true. People hate rejection. It's so true. I hate rejection now, but yeah, I got rejected probably 15 to 17 times out of 20. No, and you have to go. So I totally get that. Totally get it. You're dealing with losing is what you're saying. Most people, and that's the first thing I teach the juniors in the academy. One of the first things I teach the juniors in the academy is to connect a loss to perseverance to winning. And that's a massive thing. Losing isn't winning. Sorry, losing isn't losing. Losing's part of winning. It's the same thing.
So I want to talk about your gym and your academy, your superpower of that a little bit. But while we're on the topic, and this is something that if you're looking to grow your business at all, like, you need a sales process. And I know people, gym owners, they don't want to sell, they don't want to market because they have certain connotations about it, but you're really just saying, hey, I believe in what I sell, I want to tie it in a nice package and present it to this person in a way to where they can make a decision or not. So that's the way I think about it. Because like, nobody wants to do pressure sales, nobody wants to be pressured, so we can just kind of get rid of that idea. We're not doing that. What is your sales process like from the lens of someone coming to take a free trial, walking them through the class and to the end of a sales, presentation?
Well, I do have free trials, regardless. I've always got a free trial. I know it's a big thing in jiu-jitsu at the moment, and I get why they say it. They say, well, I'm not doing a free trial because you wouldn't go to a restaurant and try a free meal. We know our craft, and I get that. It's a big thing at the moment, not free trials. But the reason I do a free trial, I suppose, is because people do just think you are having a hobby exercise rolling around on the floor, and I want to tell them that they're doing far more than that. So we do the free trial. When they come into the gym, I make them feel welcome and show them around and feel at home. It's all about the energy that you provide, and I build rapport with them. When we do the class, it's a big one. From the class, I make sure I welcome these people to the whole class and say, when we come to rolling, we're not rolling. You're going to give them a one-to-one. At the end, I basically don't try to join them up then and there. Sometimes I do, based on how I feel. And then I will explain to them that we do memberships. Our memberships are non-contract. You're not tied into anything. They're highly competitive. Um, I'd like to see you again. This is the next class. If you come, then we'll join you up. And then I try and talk to them about, just genuinely just have a chat with them about anything as if they was my friend. That tends to work as well, because then they feel this guy's not trying to just sell me something, he's just genuine sound. I enjoyed it. 9 times out of 10, they come back and then I join them up. I really feel like with sales, people often overthink it, but really with sales, it's rapport. It's all rapport. So if you are if you build as much rapport as you can, then they're more likely just to join up, whether it's then or the time after. I tend to let people leave thinking, they really want to join up then, right now, to be fair. So that's how I do the sales, really.
And I think that's great, and I honestly mean that. And from two perspectives, I mean that. One is a lot of gyms, academies that I've been to, they don't really have a sales process at all. In fact, the owner, the professor, they're so skittish about, they don't want to pressure people, they don't want to get rejected. So after the class, they wait for the trial student to approach them, or they just let them walk out.
Can't be doing.
And it ends up being a waste, right? If it's a waste of an organic trial, or if you're running paid ads, it's just a waste, because that person probably has questions, but you're the black belt, and and maybe you don't realize that, like, it's kind of like grade school again, right? Like, you've become this kind of larger than life figure, and they're, little Johnny again. So you've got to approach them. Yeah. And it is a soft sale, but you're framing what's going to happen next. And so that allows people to think things through with safety, right? You're saying, hey, if someone's really over the moon, yeah, sure, they'll just throw money at you and they'll sign up. But by you getting that commitment, because they could bail, right? They could ghost on you. Of them coming back, that's essentially you saying, hey, like, when you come back, you're going to sign up, right? Like, that's kind of an unspoken thing. And if you don't come back, cool. But it works really well in both ways, because they could ghost you and it kind of lets them save face. And if they do come back, they're very likely to sign up. So I like the way it's a very low pressure, no pressure, but you're still engaging that person.
100% every single time. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So I appreciate that. If you're not doing anything for, and it's funny because after this, I'm going to go and like record a video on this very topic. If you're not doing anything, at least do that. Do a bare minimum of communicating with the human who came in. And it's not really a soapbox. It's not really a hill I'm willing to die on, but free trials, it's like the big box of whatever at Costco. You're committing to a gigantic box of something you've never tasted before. And with a lot of things, people know what it is because they have a frame of reference for it. Like, I owned a CrossFit gym, so people understand what exercise is, right? And a lot of people don't know the difference between karate or judo or jujitsu. They just see a white gi.
Communication, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm a fan, and you're like you're running the class anyway, So I think if you're really looking for growth, free trials would be an absolute no-brainer for me. But thank you for walking through that process with me. In terms of your current gym, academy, I don't know, school, whatever you want to call it. What would you say are some of your strengths? What are you best at? What makes you a successful owner?
Well, I say, going back to the ambiance, if you will, I always the energy of the academy is often more important than what you're teaching, for a start. So the energy is big. The welcoming, the music's got to be on. Everybody's got to be friendly. In the year that when we hit the year of 2022, that was the big year for us. I realized that then, for the last 10 years, that was what I call my apprentice decade. It's on the website. I was a coach and a student simultaneously for 10 years. So there's not many other coaches who've done this. I'd coached for 10 years and trained 3 times a week minimum at another gym. So I learned what students needed. Now my game, my style and my teaching are together. So fundamentally, what I've got a good reputation for more than anything is my teaching. So moving on from when students walk into the academy and they feel good, they feel welcome. I've got a good reputation for getting people very good at jiu-jitsu quick. So for example, 2 of my guys trained with me for 3.5 to 4 years, went on Paul Larry's Contenders and was beating black belts from scratch, because I'm a big believer in the language of jiu-jitsu. Just because you're teaching jiu-jitsu and just because you are saying that are 2 different animals. You could teach a triangle choke for an hour, or you could run an academy and teach systems over a week and over a week, which you've thought of over 10 years, which will get somebody good quick. And going back to the communications point, I tell my students exactly what I am doing, how I am teaching them the language of jiu-jitsu at the end. They feel my passion for it, and then they go, I understand what he's doing. He's teaching us how to speak French, if that makes sense. If we're learning French, I try and teach systems like a subject and sentences that link onto other subjects and sentences. If you just teach a triangle choke for a long time, let's say that's the equivalent of teaching the words "How are you?" Okay, the triangle doesn't work. Where are you going to go from there? So I string sentences together like jiu-jitsu.
Right.
I've got a unique way of teaching, and that's how my students I tend to look up, see that and speak and promote that for me.
Yeah. So it sounds like, from my experience as a student, that what I see most of the time is we come in, we learn a move, a triangle choke, right, or a single leg, and then you learn a couple variations of that move that day, and then the next time you come in, maybe you build on it on the week, or maybe you go to something completely different. But it sounds like you're doing more of a high level concept,
Yeah.
or more of a position, and then within that it's kind of tiered down, like that movement would exist. Is that about right? Do you
Yeah.
want to just
So
give me an example?
I'll give a quick overview. I will just give you a quick overview.
Yeah.
I don't mind telling. It's fine. It's called the 5-10 split. So each class is split into a different system. So Mondays, I'll give you the jiu-jitsu syllabus. So Monday is takedowns and upper body sweeps or submissions. Tuesdays is in the gi, and Thursdays is takedown defense, escapes, and positional and leg locks. So that's given a student within a week the whole idea of full grappling. We don't move on the week after though. We stick to that basic system. The tier down from there is for 5 to 10 weeks. Let's say we're covering an omoplata. I stick on that every Monday for 5 to 10 weeks. Every Tuesday might be a half guard for 5 to 10 weeks, and every Thursday will be a certain type of positional defense for 5 to 10 weeks. Within that, each class also links together. Okay, so there's that as well. Let's say we're teaching the omoplata. We might be at the BMA style is a flowing kinetic chain submission sequence style, right? From pressure. So within each system, if I teach that omoplata, the next Monday we teach that again, and we'll teach the roll from the omoplata, and then the movement after, the movement after, the movement after. Within 6 weeks, a student's got a very good idea of the kinetic chain movements of an omoplata. Then if we take that to speaking like a subject and a language, then we could say that's like teaching someone to speak French, but now we are teaching a subject within French over 5 weeks.
Yeah.
How I see it. And then all of a sudden, within 5 weeks, a student knows a full system of omoplatas. The opponent escapes. We counter, which might take somebody else who was doing a random omoplata every couple of months and somebody else the next week 15 years to get. So I always say, just because you're a black belt doesn't mean you're a black belt level in coaching. And one thing that I've learned is that my coaching surpasses pretty much where I think I am in my own game. So that's how I tend to teach. And look, it must work because we've got good people in short succession.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. I'm just a humble blue belt, so I don't have any kind of knowledge to extrapolate on, other than how I learn. And so I think, I'm
You can
I'm
do that.
39. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 39. I'm a hobbyist.
Mm.
I train 3 times a week. I do hate sucking at things. I am also a psychotic person. Like I run ultra marathons, and I still do CrossFit, and like I'm a crazy person, so I don't like to suck. And so one of the things that I really struggle with in learning jujitsu is goldfish brain, where it's like, okay, I learned 5 cool things today. I might remember one, and then the rest is just kind of gone, right?
Well,
And so yeah, go ahead.
Well, that was me. So I've always been the sort of person who had, I don't like messy things, and I don't like everything to be all over the place. So, like most schools, my coach for a long time was like that. He would teach this, this, and this. I says, okay, that's fine. I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to categorize what you're teaching. So I
Yeah.
started with a journal, and if it was half guard one week and the next week he was teaching the Kimura, I'd say, okay, I'm then going to put that into the Kimura sequence and that into the half guard sequence. Then I was at my academy and I was teaching in my own way, which was systemizing jiu-jitsu that was being taught to me from all over the place. So that's how I developed my systems. I would, the way I taught was selfishly for me, if that makes sense as well.
Yeah, it does.
I would then go and do that.
Yeah, and again, like again, a little crazy, but I'm obsessed with learning how to learn and kind of speeding up
Yes.
that learning curve for myself
Yes.
selfishly, because it sucks to suck. In fact,
Yeah.
the gym I train at, they have a kimono company called BCK, and they make really nice stuff. And they have occasionally they'll print a rash guard that just says like, it sucks to suck, and I'm like, it does, it does. Across all of, because there's so many gyms now, there's so many people, and because jiu-jitsu is so popular, you're seeing so many more black belts, and
Yeah.
the space is just getting bigger and bigger. Do you think in some point there will be a standardization of teaching practices that maybe it's more toward your ways or something else? Like, do you think that people will figure out, hey, this guy Nico is teaching people and they're all getting better faster, we should look at how he's teaching? Do you think that will happen?
What's happening now? So there is where it's the there's a paradox to this. Okay, so the black belts when I was coming up there was not many, and there was all very good. That's true. It was all savages. Okay, but the paradox to it as well is that now you have world champion purple belts that would demolish the black belts then. So the spectrum is huge. I understand this, right? But what you were also getting is people getting black belts that potentially maybe are not, well, I call them seminar instructors, because I'm not slagging anybody off because they're still growing jiu-jitsu and teaching martial arts. But you have many people now opening up academies as a blue belt, putting a mat down and affiliating under another black belt who comes in to teach seminars every 3 months and miraculously ends up getting to black belt within 4 years, 5 years, and they've not really learned much. You've got those black belts, then you've got black belts like me who's done everything. Then you've got black belts above me, which are champions. Then you've got world champions. So there is big tiers of black belts.
Yeah.
People are now, I know exactly what you're saying. It's coming to that point where they're going to go, there's black belts and there's black belts and there's good coaches and there's black belts. So yeah, I think the spectrum on black belt is huge. It's getting wider than what it should be in BJJ. I suppose in BJJ, any black belt should be able to demoralize anybody on the ground. It's the whole point of BJJ. But money comes into it, mate. I'm afraid to say, like karate, from what I hear in the '60s, many times would beat Thai boxing, but then it got watered down. This
Huh.
school over here is giving black belts out a little bit quicker. Not everyone gives a shit about being a savage black belt, but they would rather just tell their friend they're a black belt. I'm going to go over there and pay less money and get it quicker. My standards, I don't care. My standards are very, very high. I've never given anybody a black belt. The highest grade's brown belt, and I've been teaching for 13 years. So I don't care. People do know though, and people do talk. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I don't know. I'm not even going to throw out an opinion on that because I'm not informed enough. But in terms of like a teaching system, because the grading system is like, I just think that's going to be a big gap forever. I don't know how to
The
reconcile that.
teaching system, the teaching system, is 100%. I would say 20 years behind, and I'll say 20 years behind because when I went to 10th Planet headquarters in Los Angeles 7 or 8 years ago now, I realized how far ahead they were. That's where I based a lot of my teachings from, Eddie Bravo's school. It was so systemized. The warm-ups were systemized. Everything was systemized, and I absorbed everything they was doing. And I thought, shit, there is such an art to teaching. There's literally a black belt level of teaching and a black belt level of grappling. And a lot of people in the UK do not understand this concept. So I'm a black belt, I teach. I'll get you. No, you don't understand. There's a black belt level of teaching, and there's a black belt level of running a school. So I would say my expertise is this. There are black belts out there that can do a seminar on a system or a move much beyond me up here. And I would go, wow, I cannot reach that level of detail. That is fantastic. But what I can match the best of the best in this country on is running an academy and understanding that system, that specific niche of running an academy. through the days I run and linking my systems and the classes and the weeks and the months together and getting people to that level. That is what I specialize in. Not many people even think of it like that, but you got to think of what you're doing. What your job is coaching. It's not how good you are as such.
Right. Yeah. I apologize for the listeners that if I'm dragging this out, but when someone says the word systems, I'm just like, yeah, I want to talk about that. I'm not a very exciting person, but it's like, yeah, I like systemized stuff. I just do. I mean, and that's the key to running a successful business, is putting systems in place to deal with problems that come up on a regular basis, solving problems. Anyway, thank you for indulging me in that. Now, one of the things we talked about a little bit before we pressed record was your superpower of communication and reading people. And a lot of that you mentioned came from your door-to-door karate sales training, which, by the way, like, oh man, if you want to be good at sales, 10 out of 10, go find the guy at the top of the pyramid, buy his thing, and go try and sell that, because you'll either realize really quick you don't want to do this, or you're going to be really, really good, really, really fast. But yeah, you talked about the communication. So as far as that skill set and how it benefits your students and you as an academy owner, can you tell me more about your superpower?
Superpower. Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose just quickly in general, if I can just give you a quick brief overview of my academy, and this will also make sense at the end of what I'm about to say. My academy, the first 5 years, was what you would call a ghetto gym. Okay, so fights would break out. There was smoke fights on a Saturday morning. It was a cage in a unit. That's it. At the 10-year mark is where I sussed it. The 10-year mark is where I sussed it, where anybody who walked through my doors, I understood that character. I'd met them before, and I was now thankful for the 2,000 people that I'd previously trained. I'm a people observer. I'm a people person. So I learn through interactions as well as the communications on the doors. The martial art mats are a microcosm for the wider world, and you have to look after your school for a few reasons. We are teaching lethal things. And it's a business. It's how I pay my bills. So I have to understand if there's any danger in people. It's my job to understand people. I recently had to let go of somebody I took, to a high level. I have to understand people, and there's always a reason why people have to get kicked out. And so that's the first thing to mention.
Protect the flock.
100%, 100%. And there's always them people that want to, try and take people away from you. There's all sorts of things. But in general, to summarize, if I'm teaching for the communication with the juniors, as I say, it's how it's not the words you say. They listen to the volume of your voice. So if I want their attention, I go loud, and then I talk like this, and then they listen. So that's how the juniors are taught. And then the points I'm trying to get across is when I'm whispering. For the adults, the communication then is, at the end when we do the lineup, that's when they're going to listen to what I'm saying the most, as it is. And then I say, guys, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I am feeling. And then I'll just be completely open and completely honest about what I am saying. And people resonate with that, and people truly listen and understand when with that level of openness. That's how I teach it there with the communication stuff.
Awesome. I think that's great. Because do you have kids?
I've got 3 boys.
Yeah, I've got a couple of girls, and it's not always easy to get things across to them. So I think if you just get loud at kids, they can tune that out.
Well, yeah. So we've one of my clients, a guy called Akib. He was recently in San Francisco at an AI intervention, and he's back in England. And he was working with Sports England that are paying millions of pounds to research how best to teach kids. And previously to him going to this conference, I was talking to him about how I communicate with kids, and I believe it's because I've got my own kids. And I said, look, I talk to them on their level. I actually treat them with respect and talk to them and say, look, will you just listen to me? I'm not here. We're all friends. I talk to them on a level. And Sports England, that paid millions of pounds to research how best to teach children, their actual final revised analogy was, there's a massive discrepancy between what the coach wants and what the student wants. The coach wants the kids to be good at A, and the child wants to have fun. So he said basically what you were saying was the same thing. So again, going back to communication, it's very similar to how I teach the kids. I will actually say to my juniors in the class, who's had a great week, and we talk about anti-bullying. Guys, this is what we're doing today. We're playing games. We're going to do 4 drills. I say, how many drills are we going to do today? Say 4. Say, yeah, we're doing 4 drills. Then what we're doing? 3 rounds of grappling. Then what? We're playing games. I say, we're going to work together as a team. Can we do this together? And they go, yeah. And it's just that level of communication. They go, yeah, that makes sense. And then we sneak the jiu-jitsu in the middle, and then we sneak in all of the emotional control, which of course comes in martial arts, the patience, the discipline, the respect, learning how to lose within that as well. Some fundamental things a schooling system simply can't teach. Then we play games, and then we say bye.
And that tracks really, really well with me. I think we have a very similar kind of system section of the brain that's like just allocated for that kind of thinking. But I really like to tell people what to expect, because then they don't have to think about what to expect. They can just think about what's in front of them. I can't remember where the metaphor example is from, but imagine you met someone on the street and they said, "Hey, Nico, stick your hand in this box." And there's just a black box with a hole in it. You can't see inside. You don't know what's in it. And you're going to be like, no way. But if the box has a clear lid and there's a cupcake inside, you'd be like, yeah, okay. So if people know what to expect, they're more willing to take that next step.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, as I mentioned, we try and keep the episodes on the 30-minute side. I have failed today. So I got just a couple more questions before we let go. I'm not trying to do the 3-hour Joe Rogan thing. Nobody has time for that. Clearly you've got a really well-dialed system of teaching. You've got communication. You've got you've cut your teeth in sales. You've got all these things. Is there anything in particular that you can point out as saying like, hey, I believe that like this quality or period of time or job like has made me successful? I mean, I know it's a combination, but is there anything that you could really highlight?
Yeah, my second born son was born with some health problems. He's okay now, but it was a big sledgehammer to my head. And this period of my time, I realized that things can happen in your life, and to look after yourself, sort yourself out, and basically look at everything that you're doing and prepare yourself and just be secure. And a big part of that was it just woke me up basically, and I would say that was a big part of my studying and teachings. I distracted myself a lot with jiu-jitsu as well, and how I teach. There's the sales jobs, as I said earlier, and the door-to-door stuff. I'm just trying to think any influences and things like this. I would just say my own personal experience, year by year, that goes by. Yeah. Everything that goes by, I learn from myself. I'm one of those people that, I learn from what I do. I don't consider a loss. I never consider a loss. I consider a loss a lesson, which I turn into a win. Like Elon Musk says, the founder of SpaceX, he puts rockets into space. Every time the rocket, booms in the air, he actually he's changed his mindset, which has cost him millions of pounds, to see that as a fundamental lesson. What went wrong, and he will learn from that. And the next rocket will not blow up. So yeah, I believe just learning from what you do and never seeing a loss as a loss, and just seeing it as a lesson.
Yeah, awesome. And the last thing is, sometimes I phrase this question as, what would you like to see more of or less of in jiu-jitsu, as a whole? But I'd like to end things on a glass half full note. So what would you like to see more of in the jiu-jitsu community? And this could be in general, or it could be at the school level or as a business practice. What would you like to see more of?
I would like to see more jiu-jitsu gyms coming together as a community. So my guys are on mats all over the place, and I encourage my guys to train everywhere. There's some fantastic gyms around locally to us. We've got AVT, there's Next Generation, Air Valley, Apex, Mataliao, there's IMA, there's so many great gyms, and I encourage my guys to go everywhere. They come back to us, more people are starting to come to our gyms, and I just really encourage gym owners to be just, you know, have your school, but let your guys go out and learn and come back. And the more you let your guys go out, they go, great, we can train everywhere, and we've got our home school. More kids training. I would like to see more people join up, understanding the benefits of jiu-jitsu, of course. I might times I see people and they say to me, I've wanted to come to your gym for ages, but I just feel like I'm overweight, I will look like an idiot, I'm too old. Like, no, you don't understand. Jiu-jitsu is for everybody at any age. You can do it at any age, and the benefits are amazing. I've got students that are coming up to 70 years old, and they absolutely love it, and they train side by side of champions on my mat. So, you know, it's everybody to understand that they can join up and just get involved in the community.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for sharing that. If people want to learn a little bit more about you, maybe they want to reach out and pick your brain about the teaching system you've got, or they just want to find you on socials and be your friend, where can they go?
Well, I've got an online training school and website, which is coachnicobajerski.com. You can find me on Instagram at Nico_Bajerski. My gym channel is BMA_Halifax. Those three places.
Great. And those will all be in the show notes. Nico, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be on the show.
Thank you very much. I hope we can do it again at some point. Have a fantastic day, sir.
We're out. All right, man.
That made me a bit nervous.
Yeah.
The count.
Yeah. Great stuff, man.